Well, thank you, County Executive, for having me with you today. Exciting news to release the capital budget, especially one that exceeds $5 billion for the next 5 years. Wanted to talk a little bit about what's in it and why it's good news for the residents and especially the children of our county.
That's a good place to start. I mean, this budget for the school system is about $1.9 billion. It's a big increase, over 5% over last year. This is a year when we normally make big changes in budget. This is the off year in a 2-year cycle. But this year, because of extraordinary inflation that the school system and frankly other capital projects in the county have experienced, we had to increase the level of funding in order to keep important projects on track. So we were able to find some additional funding. There's a little bit more work we need to do. We're working with the state legislature and the governor's office to see if Montgomery County, as well as other counties around the state, can get some additional support, as all of us are struggling to meet the inflation increases that occurred.
I know one of the projects that you seemed most excited about when we were releasing the capital budget this week was the announcement of a new Burtonsville Elementary School. Tell me a little bit about how you wound up with this exciting project.
So this had been in the budget as a refresh, which means they would have worked on the school, but they wouldn't have built a new school. The school is way too small for the population. In addition, there was another elementary school that was overcrowded. And as we talked about it, we found that there was actually a school site that had been set aside in Burtonsville for an elementary school. And it seemed that rather than trying to fix this old school, we had the opportunity to build a new school, build a bigger school on the site that could accommodate the overcrowding in the other elementary, as well as the overcrowding in Burtonsville. Another exciting thing is nobody can walk to Burtonsville Elementary where it is today, because you're not going to send children crossing 198 to get to school. This school is closer to a residential neighborhood, so a lot of the people who were bused to school are actually going to be able to walk to school. So it's better for transportation, it's more accessible to more families. In addition to that, we've talked to the school system about their plans for the old Burtonsville Elementary, and they're looking at developing it as a child care center. We know child care is a great need in the county. The school system has wanted to expand its child care opportunities. This gives them the opportunity to do that. And on top of that, because children aren't in daycare in the evenings, the spaces in the school can be available for many of the community groups, particularly the ethnic community groups on the east side of the county that don't have meeting spaces. And I've been in numerous conversations where people ask me, well, don't you have empty buildings in the county? And the county government doesn't have empty buildings. This actually gives us an empty building that we can reposition to provide meeting spaces to the community, and the fields up there can be added to our inventory of ball fields, which is another area where we're lacking. So it provides a lot of needs, it solves a lot of problems, and I think it's welcome news for the community.
One of the things you and I have talked about a lot over the last several years is your passion for, commitment for providing mental health services in our community, and especially to our young people. This budget has exciting news about wellness centers.
So the school system, the county government started down the path of opening up more wellness centers in the county. We were putting them in the high schools. We made a decision this year that we would fund an expansion beyond what we had originally planned. So we're going to have more wellness centers open. They're in the highest impacted schools in the county. And we know that the students in school are struggling with learning loss, and they're struggling with 2 years of having been disconnected from the community. So the mental health needs are greater. Learning loss puts a lot of pressure on students. I'm a former teacher, and I know that if you're a student and you don't feel you can do the work that's in front of you, they just don't blow that off and say everything's fine. They often feel stressed and feel like there's something wrong with them, and that just contributes to students' lack of feeling of well-being. And so this is an opportunity for us to get these services into the schools, and I think help make a difference. And this is part of what I think is going to be a larger effort to actually build more community clinics in the broader Montgomery County community.
So by your proposal, we're going to have 8 wellness centers, so comprehensive actual clinics
Yes.
in high schools to provide both physical health and mental health services in 8 of our highest need
Yep.
high schools. I know you're already talking to the Moore-Miller administration about getting state support for this, because this is truly a model for the entire state.
It is a model, and we're going to take it through the rest of the high schools. We know that this isn't a unique problem to these 8 schools, but it's actually a problem that occurs in many of the schools in the county, as well as the broader mental health crisis. I mean, I think everybody's acknowledging that society is experiencing a mental health crisis at a level that we've not seen before, and we've got an opportunity, I believe, to start putting in place a system that the county used to have. The county used to have community mental health clinics. And they got shut down. And I don't know what people were thinking. Maybe they assumed that healthcare reforms would lead to people being able to get healthcare that way, mental health care that way. But I think most people realized it didn't pan out the way people thought it would. So we find ourselves at a deficit. Mental health care can be very expensive. And we want to be able to be sure we can start providing a broader range of services, not just to students, but to older folks as well.
Then one long talked about project was trying to move forward with a cultural arts center in Wheaton. This proposal, this year's capital budget proposal that you submitted to the council, finally includes funding for that project. How did you make it happen?
I made it happen in coordination with Montgomery Housing Partnership. There's land up in Wheaton that they have access to. We're trying to build more affordable housing in Wheaton, and it turned out that the site they have was large enough to accommodate the Cultural Arts Center. And we looked at it as an opportunity to integrate it into a bigger project, which also has cost savings. You know, for us to build the center by itself, with nothing else attached to it, it has one set of problems: the ability to integrate foundation work and electrical work and all these other things in one comprehensive setting is beneficial to getting this project moving forward. Montgomery Housing Partnership was happy to have this as a signature project on their property, so we were able to go forward, and we're waiting for them to come back. They've got to bring their plans to go through park and planning, get it approved, but we're excited that we're going to be able to move this forward. People waited a lot of years for it. It was an unending topic. Every time we would meet with the Wheaton community, they would ask us, what about the Cultural Arts Center? We can finally tell them it's coming.
So in your time in office, you've been able to help deliver a new library, a new rec center, the new park and planning comprehensive one-stop shop building in Wheaton, and now the Cultural Arts Center. With others,
yes,
it is a comprehensive rebuild of Wheaton that we should all be proud of.
Look, I grew up in this community, so I used to live off of Forest Glen Road. I used to walk, bus, or hitchhike up to Wheaton on a regular basis, and every time I left Einstein after school, I went to Wheaton Plaza. So I know this community well. I raced cars on a slot car track up there. My band played, in band competitions up there. So
you and I probably had too much ice cream at Farrell's.
Too much ice cream. Too much ice cream at Farrell's. My favorite was going, I think it was G.C. Murphy, and buying a sub and then buying a pound of ham to put on my sub on top of what was on there. So I remember Wheaton well. My first job was in Wheaton Plaza. So being sure that we revitalize it, that we provide new opportunities up there, are really important. And our building there is one of the signatures, and we've zoned that area for more redevelopment. We're hopeful that more housing and more jobs come there.
And then one of the other projects that's included in here, which is interesting, it's something I know you're passionate about, affordable housing. You proposed a plan for naturally occurring affordable housing. We set aside, I think, $40 million in cash for groups like Montgomery Housing Partnership, other nonprofits, to be able to quickly purchase properties. I think a lot of people said it wouldn't help, we'd never get the money out the door. Not only have we gotten out the door, you were able to announce today $32 million in repayments already in 1 year, because it was designed to help people buy through the right of first refusal that you've championed in the county, buy the housing, get the whole actual long-term financing put in place, and then repay the short-term loan.
I'm glad you mentioned that. This is a really big deal because for years, and I was on the council when this was a normal problem, I would have nonprofits come and say, can't the county government find more money because this housing units, these buildings around the block, we could buy them if only the county had the money, and the county didn't have the money then to do it. So we were able to create a fund that allows us to act very quickly. So there's a limited window. If a developer is selling or the owner of the project is selling, we've got a limited window, or the nonprofits have a limited window in which to respond. And they're not going to respond unless they're confident that there's the money there to allow them to make the purchase in the moment and then hold it while they arrange the long-term financing. And what happened here is exactly what you said. We were able to get the money out there. We were able to get a hold of the project. And because they were able to close on the longer-term financing, we got $32 million back. And so that $32 million is now back in the budget, and it will be going out the door to help fund other projects. So we see this as a really important tool. We put another $100 million in the budget for supporting affordable housing. We're talking to the governor's office because affordable housing and projects in Maryland, affordable housing ownership does not get the support that affordable housing rental gets. And if we want to help change people's trajectory and be able to move more people toward ownership, we've got to have state programs that support us. And I know the governor has prioritized ownership as well. So we think we're going to be able to continue to use our money flexibly to help people, whether it's rent or ultimately buy, make sure we get people into long-term sustainable, affordable housing. If we don't do this, if these units were to go to sale and go into the market, you can be pretty sure that we would continue to lose our affordable housing. The county, if you go back to the year 2000, and this is not my statistics, they're park and planning numbers, the county had about 42,000 units that were considered market affordable, meaning there was no government control, but they were affordable just by nature of their rents. By 2020, we'd lost half those units. And by 2030, they projected we would lose another half, leaving us with maybe 11,000 units left. We can't afford to have that happen. We cannot replace housing nearly as inexpensively as we can if we can capture the affordable units and preserve them. So we're finally able to do this. I was thrilled with this project, and along with some of the other things we're doing, I think this helps us turn a corner, and with some additional support from the state, and hopefully the federal government, because they're interested in some of the work we're doing, we'll be able to preserve more of the housing in the county and hopefully build more housing in the county.
No, the capital budget is an exciting document. As much as when one wants to talk about bond issuances and long-term borrowing, but when you think about it, this is almost $6 billion worth of investments to transform our community. And I know I've been excited to work with you on these because a lot of these projects will transform individual neighborhoods like Wheaton, continue to grow all these different high schools around the state, improve our facilities. And I don't know if people realize this about you. You are also a member of the board of directors of the Maryland Association of Counties, not surprisingly, county executive of the largest jurisdiction in the state. You're fighting every day in Annapolis for money for counties, for our county. It really gives you a platform to work on these things so that when you're talking to state legislators, when you're talking to the new, more Miller administration, people listen.
Yeah, last year the county did pretty well in Annapolis, but a lot of the stuff, and if you ask the delegates, was a struggle with the governor. I mean, the big
delegates and senators.
And senators, yes. One of the big differences that I see is, you could work with Hogan, but he didn't always share a common set of values or goals. And so a lot of the things that we would like to do weren't necessarily shared by him. And having a governor who's coming into office talking about early child care, who's talking about expanding educational opportunity, who's talking about the education blueprint, who wants to see progress on jobs and economic opportunities, we're speaking the same language. And we've got delegates and senators who are looking forward to working with the governor that's on the same team trying to score the same points. And I think that's, it is the football season, so I can say that. So I think it's...
Well, for you, it's still football season.
That's
As
true.
a
It's still
Giants fan, for you, it's still football
It's still the football season. So it's an opportunity, I think, for all of us to be more successful. And, you know, our delegations do a lot of work down there. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time down there. I think we're very well aligned, and I think the Moore administration is really well aligned. And I'm looking forward to 4 years of working together. It is very different when you have to convince somebody that they should do something as the start of a conversation, as opposed to start a conversation with, we know we want to achieve that, what are the things we need to do to get there? This is a big change. I think everybody who's engaged in this end of the world that we're in politics in Annapolis, should feel some relief that we can start with positive conversations.
Well, it is an honor to work with you at the county government. I mean, this is one of the best organizations, best local governments you can find in the country.
Yeah.
Not surprisingly with the profile of Montgomery County, but the capital budget is always one of those days you reflect upon what we've done and all the great things the community, what we're going to be doing for the community going forward. So
Look,
it's been a pleasure to be with you today.
Look, you and your budget team have been pretty amazing and creative, because, you know, we're doing some things differently than we've done before. I got a lot of kudos from people when I asked you to serve in my administration, because I think a lot of people felt you were probably the smartest, you know, budget person in Annapolis. And, you know, I've had a chance to see your work, you know, going into 5 years now. And you really do provide leadership in that. And it's good to have, you know, myself or anybody else in my position. It's only good as the people around them. And having people around you who are smart and capable makes the job a little bit easier. So
well,
thank
unfortunately, we can't go out and celebrate with ice cream at Farrell's or a pound of ham on a sub anymore, but
no,
it's fun working with you.
I'm not eating the bread and I can't do the ice cream.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.